Welcome to Texas Jewish Arts Association. Thank you very much for joining us today. It's pretty exciting to see everybody and have you guys here. I'm Nan Phillips, president of Texas Jewish Arts. TJAA is a nonprofit organization for visual and performing artists, creatives of all sorts, and art supporters. We're based predominantly in Dallas-Fort Worth area, but we will be expanding into other areas of Texas. I see that we have an Israeli with us today also. So we've spread a bit. Our organization believes that combining, supporting, and learning about different forms of art enhances and enriches the lives of artists and audiences alike. So when TJAA hosts an art exhibition, we include music and dance performances at our receptions whenever possible. In our programming, we try to bring information to our members and to the public about different aspects of the arts to expand our knowledge and our horizons. Even though TJAA is a Jewish organization, membership is open to any and all who wish to join. The Jewish people believe in the principle of tikkun olam, or the work of repairing the world. The nonprofit organization Music for the World exemplifies this philosophy, and we are so happy to bring you this presentation so that you can learn about the incredible work that they are doing. Our program today has been brought to you by Sarah Price, Director of TJAA's Music Division, and Donna Harris, TJAA Program Chair. So I'm going to hand it over to Sarah, and thank you all again for joining us. Enjoy.
I'd like to introduce Donna Harris. Donna Harris is the Director of Programming, and she would like to say a few words as well.
Well, I wanted to thank Sarah so much for introducing us to both Kelly and Jesus. We were brainstorming different programmings and how to branch out from what we normally do, which is have shows for our members to bring them out to the audience, to showcase their works. But, this year, all of us kind of had to backpedal and kind of figure out who we were as an organization when we can't have shows because of a pandemic. Anyway, Sarah has known Kelly and Jesus. And so we had a meeting with them last week to just talk about how, their philosophy and how they could work with us. And they were amazing. They're darling. I can't even tell you, they are so cute. This couple, I was so impressed with them. It was at the time I met them when we were going the world was going through so much turmoil, and they gave me so much hope. They gave me so much hope. They're so cute. So thank you, Sarah, for turning us on to Kelly and Jesus. And I look forward to all learning more about them.
Great. Thank you, Donna. And thank you for your help in marketing this. It's been a really huge help. I didn't know what to do half the time. So thank you so much for doing this with me. Kelly and Jesus, would y'all like to go ahead and begin?
Yeah, of course. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you to everyone who spoke just now. We're really excited to go ahead and get started. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right in. We're going to share our screen, and we're going to go through a little slide. Here we go. Okay. Can everyone see our screen right now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, perfect. So we are Musicians for the World. And, there we go. Okay. So we are a nonprofit organization, and we are committed to empowering vulnerable communities through virtual music education. So our goal is to provide support where dreams exist, but opportunity is limited. And soon we'll go on to share with you some of the areas we work with, and you will see exactly what we mean.
And I just wanted to add that by empowering communities, we are not only changing the life of students in these vulnerable communities, but we are trying to provide the kind of support that will make these communities self-sufficient. we have different programs such as the teacher training program, where we teach their teachers and we support their organizations in different ways, which you will learn very soon. And we also connect students from around the world to each other, and to musicians and institutions in the US and in Europe. And you will also learn more about how we connect very soon.
Okay, so, but first, we're going to tell you a little bit about us. So, I'm Kelly, and this is Jesus, and we went to the Boston Conservatory together. This is where we met. So we lived in Boston for a while. Now we're in New York, where we founded Musicians for the World. And a little bit about myself. I grew up on Long Island in New York. And I started violin at a very young age. I was 5 or 6, and my school offered it, and I was the worst in my class. It was a very bad situation for me. But then as I got older, I met my brother's friend's mom was a violin teacher. So my parents decided to get me lessons again, and I jumped right back into it, this time with a little bit more guidance, and I succeeded in it, and I continued to go on and do it as a career, go into school with it. But I started at a very young age, which I was very fortunate to have done. And I had all these great teachers along the way, and through my experience, I really learned, you need the correct support in order to really flourish as any kind of artist. And so I went on to go to Manhattan School of Music, and then I transferred to Boston Conservatory, where I met Jesus, and everything really worked out in my life. I got to be where I am now by all the choices I made. And everything just came from the first failures of me playing violin very badly. So, yeah.
Yes. Hello, my name is Jesus Sáenz. I am originally from Peru. I started music in Peru when I was 11, and I attended the Peruvian National Conservatory, which is one of the main schools for music in Peru. When I was 17, I won a scholarship to go to Texas Christian University, which you all are probably very familiar, or most of you. It's in Fort Worth, Texas, where I did my undergraduates. And later on, I continued. I did a degree at the Southern Methodist University in Dallas. I went to University of North Texas in Denton, Texas. I spent about 10 years of my life in Texas. So part of my heart is in Texas. And then I moved to Boston, where I met Kelly. One of the most significant experiences as a musician for me was to be part of the Youth Orchestra of the Americas, which connects musicians from all over the Americas. We traveled together, tours, and I was part of the Orchestra of the Americas Global Leaders Program, which part of the program was for us to go to different places and teach and mentor students. And one of those places was Suriname. I got to go to Trinidad and Tobago, and also Haiti, where I was teaching for a summer festival. And then I went to Boston Conservatory to finish my last part of my education. And then that's where we met. And we actually just finished Boston Conservatory in 2019. We are freelance musicians at heart. And after we finished, we started working with a company called RWS. And through that RWS, we were going into Holland American cruise ship and perform chamber music. We did that for 4 months. And we were supposed to go again. And then the pandemic hit, and we found ourselves not having any sort of musical commitment, just like probably many musicians nowadays, and that's when Musicians for the World started.
Yes. So now we will go on to talk a little bit about our beginnings and how we got started. So on the left, you'll see a guy named Angelo. So Angelo is from Port-au-Prince, Haiti. And Angelo was actually the person who Jesus worked with when he had traveled to Haiti before meeting me. So Jesus went for a summer, helped with the festival. And then when he came back to the States, Angelo had been messaging him a whole bunch, asking for assistance with his students. And then by association, I started getting a lot of messages as well. So Angelo was great at advocating for his students. I got he would just blow up our phones constantly asking for help. But we were in school, very busy. But then once the pandemic hit, we had no excuse to, not help these people out. So we began working with some of Angelo's students, and we started working through WhatsApp. We started giving lessons here and there. And it kind of became, like we had this little school in Haiti all of a sudden. And so we still work with Angelo now, and Angelo was just one part of our beginning. Jesus will also go on to speak a bit about the man on the right, who also was part of our beginning.
So the man of the right, he's Professor Jesus Peralta. He's a very good friend of mine, and he founded a violin ensemble called Los Violines de San Juan, which you will learn later on. It's a violin ensemble created in a very vulnerable area of Lima, Peru. And he goes there every weekend to teach these students for free. And actually, Kelly and we got to go to Peru and visit them. And same thing happened. Once the pandemic hit, they asked if we could start giving them just for one time a masterclass to the students. And so we met with them on a Saturday. And ever since then, since March, we've been meeting them every Saturday on Zoom. So these two programs in Peru and Haiti were the reason we started Musicians for the World. We found ourselves already mentoring students in these vulnerable communities, and we were like, why don't we do this serious organization where we only do this, teach online to students in these communities, and that's how we started.
Yeah, so fast forward 8 months later to now, this was all in May. We are currently engaged with over 200 students from 10 different countries.
If you are, I'm not very good with flags, but I kind of learned this for you today. So you will see you have in this order: Peru, Mexico, Haiti, Kenya, Belize, Trinidad and Tobago, Paraguay, Nigeria, Suriname, and Bolivia.
Very good. So these are all of the areas that we are working with right now. So what we do a majority of the time is we form global partnerships. So basically what we do is we engage with already existing music programs that are in need of assistance. So what we do is we work side by side with them, and we give them teacher training, lessons, master classes, anything they need support for in order to raise the overall level. And the important thing about these partnerships is that we don't want to be the people who come in and take over and steal students and take away opportunity. Our main goal with these partnerships is to raise the overall level and to make them more self-sufficient, like what we said in the beginning, is just get them operating on a higher level and offering the support that they need.
Yes, so we will go on and talk about very briefly about each of the programs we are working with.
Okay, so this one is Symphonic École de Musique. It is in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and it is led by our very own Angelo, the guy who started all of this for us. They are, it's a small group of students who work together at his school. And he is, you know, really, I'm grateful for him. He's the reason we're here today. So we continue to work with his students. We continue to work with him. And yeah, that's a bit about Symphonic École de Musique. You'll see Angelo on the very far right there, and these are all his students. These are not all of them, but it's a big group of them.
Actually, I wanted to add that when I went to Haiti, there is a few music programs in Haiti, but this is probably the one that needs one of the programs that was that had less resources, and students really have a lot of. We have learned a lot about the students and their lives, and it's been very enriching trying to help them, at least with what we can give. Yeah. The next one is Los Violines de San Juan, which is the second program that we talked about our beginners. San Juan de Miraflores is something in Peru we call something that we call a young town or a pueblo joven. And we call them that because during the 70s, if you are a little bit familiar with Peruvian history, we had terrorism. We had a terrorist organization trying to take over the government. And a lot of people escaped the highlands of Peru. And they went into the peripheries of Lima and just settled down. A lot of these communities started with no electricity, no water, no plumbing, not any kind of basic service that we know today. And some of these areas still continue like that. You will go there and there is no highways, no plumbing. The water comes in like containers, and it's a tough situation. So Professor Jesus Peralta started going to this area and form a violin ensemble. And they actually became quite successful in Lima. They had some performances in important places, and right now we're providing them support by giving them master classes, private lessons, and all kind of educational experience.
And actually, 4 of these students that we've been working with privately, we helped them to audition for the Portland Youth Philharmonic. And so everything's virtual now. So they actually got to take part in this orchestra program that they never would have been able to before. So there are many silver linings to this whole pandemic thing in terms of social media and doing everything online. So we got our students to participate in that, and we are very proud of them. And they were all from Los Violines de San Juan. Okay. And then we also teach École de Musique Jerusalem in Jerusalem, Haiti. So Jerusalem, Haiti is also a very special location. It was built after the infamous 2010 earthquake that Haiti had, where everyone had to relocate. They lost their homes, everything. And this arose as a tent community. So there were many, tent communities coming after this earthquake because everyone lost everything. So after 2010, people have just been building back up from nothing. And so it's really an honor and a privilege to work with these students, to see how far they've come and to help them to keep moving forward. And it's really inspiring to see, families that lost everything finding, peace and refuge in music. And it's amazing to help them out and help them to keep going forward with that.
The next program that we want to mention is called Orquestando Armonía. It's located in Boca del Rio, Mexico, in Veracruz. And in Boca del Rio, there is this area called El Manantial, where there is a lot of crime, a lot of all the issues that we have in Latin American countries: drugs, crime, pollution. And this program was founded to try to alleviate these issues in this area of Boca del Rio. And it is a very well-rounded program. They provide therapy, they provide all kind of support. They are very environmentally friendly. They have built instruments with recycled materials. And actually, unfortunately, right now, the local government doesn't have enough funding to start the program again. So they are like 100% their students are relying on us right now. They are attending our classes because they don't have right now their teachers teaching. But we hope that they can solve the situation very soon and start again.
Okay, and then we also teach the Trinidad and Tobago Youth Philharmonic in Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago. So the purpose of this program is to raise awareness for music within Trinidad and Tobago. In Port of Spain, there are only 37,000 people. So it's a pretty small population, and there is not much music going on there. I've spoken to many people from Trinidad and Tobago. I've spoken to people who are in the States who were from there, and the most popular thing I've heard them say is, we're so glad that you're doing this because there's really nothing there for music. It's definitely not on the top of the to-do list in Trinidad and Tobago. So for the people who are looking to do this and are looking to get exposure to this specific program is incredible. And it's great to get to work with them. We work with the students and the teachers. They come to our master classes. They attend everything. They're really great students. And they are really looking to broaden their horizons with music.
Mm-hmm. The next school we work with is Music School Bellas Artes Suriname. In Suriname they speak Dutch. They also speak some English. And I was always very intrigued by Suriname because I grew up in Peru, and we share the Amazon with Suriname and Brazil and other countries. And Suriname was one of those countries that is there in the map, but you really don't hear much about them, even though they are your neighbors. So when I went to Suriname, I was very happy to find out that there was some musical activity. Suriname has only 2 or 3 music organizations, and when we work with countries such as Peru, Mexico, where there is already a lot of existing musical scenery going on, we try to choose programs that really need help. But in the case of Suriname, of course, these programs need help, but these are also the only programs in the entire country, and we are trying to connect them with the international music community. A little story I have for you is that their cello teacher of this school, she started joining our cello program, and we found out that she's been playing for 2 years, and she's the only cellist or the only cello teacher in the whole country. And her 2 students also come to our classes. So yeah, this is the kind of situations that we find in countries like Suriname or Belize, which you will find.
Belize. Same situation here.
Mm-hmm.
We work with Pilates School of Music. Very small population, very small music program. So it's just another one of those schools where we're really, spreading knowledge about music that they otherwise would not have access to.
And another story from Belize is that there is only a handful of double bass players and double bass instruments in Belize, probably like not more than 5. We get one of those 5 or 4 violin bass players. He's part of our program as well. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then the other organization we work with is with the Orquesta Misional de Santiago de Chiquitos in Bolivia, Santa Cruz, Bolivia. This town of Chiquitos has a population of about 2,000 people. It's a very, very tiny town. And it's amazing that even in this town, they have a youth orchestra. We actually just started working with them not too long ago. And something interesting about Chiquitos is that they have a long tradition of music, starting with the Jesuits missions that came to Bolivia like centuries ago. They through music and art, they influenced the native communities, and they have a Baroque festival in Chiquitos, international Baroque festival. Surprisingly, they have Baroque music, they have Baroque composers. There is a lot of musical activity going on in Chiquitos.
Oops. Okay. And then last but not least, we have the National Youth Orchestra of Kenya in Nairobi, Kenya. So we're going to learn a little bit more about this individual I'm about to mention, named Vel. She's a double bass player, and she actually connected us to all these musicians in Kenya. She reached out to us looking for help in getting a upright bass, which we're going to get into very shortly. But she got us in contact with all of these musicians. They are driven, they are excited to learn, but there is not really a solid foundation for classical music there. So we have been offering to them all of our classes. They all attend. We try to make the timing work. They are 8 hours ahead. So we do what we can and they do what they can. Sometimes they'll attend classes at like 3 in the morning, which is how dedicated they are to this. Okay. So now we're just going to briefly mention the programs that we offer. We offer private lessons, weekly master classes, teacher training program, and Masterclass Series. So first, I'm just going to talk a little bit about our private lessons. They are exactly what they sound like. It's one-on-one instruction with students. We began in May, so we're still a little bit small, so not every single student gets to have private lessons. But we do work with many, many students. We're very, very busy here. And we also offer our private lesson program to the students who perform in our Masterclass Series. So we kind of have like a week of, like, I guess you could call it boot camp, where you have very intense lessons leading up to the Masterclass Series.
Mm-hmm. And then we have our weekly master classes. The way it works is that, for example, Kelly or I will meet with a group of students every week for a masterclass, weekly masterclass. Exactly what it sounds. We have different instruments for this. We have bass, violin, trombone, clarinet. We are starting with piano, and yeah. So some of these classes, they are directed towards a specific program. If the program is big enough, for example, we will meet every Friday with the violinist from the Kenyan National Youth Orchestra. But in the case of some instruments, we actually mix the master classes. We will have 3 students from this program, 3 students from this program, you know, and it becomes a very diverse and multicultural weekly masterclass.
Okay. And then we offer, so this is Annie, looking extra fierce. She is part of our teacher training program. So what we do is we teach teachers within these areas in order to, like we said, raise the overall level, help them to help their students. And a lot of the time, actually, these teachers want to go above and beyond what they're already doing. For instance, Annie, that you see here in these pictures, she didn't just want to be a teacher in Haiti. She also wanted to, you know, go beyond that and go to school somewhere. So right now, actually this week, I'm preparing her for a college audition in the States, and helping her through her application, through her English exam. So the teacher training program, actually, I mean, I guess you could say any of our programs, we help the students on a student-to-student basis. Whatever they need, we're here to provide that for them. So this girl here is coming to the States very soon to continue her music education. We're very excited about that.
And it's very important to mention that one of Annie's dreams is to come back to Haiti and help the students in Haiti. So our idea is that we have to make sure that in Haiti there is a violinist who has the material and the tools to teach their own communities. So that's why we're helping Annie. She's going to attend the University of North Dakota, and we are very proud of her.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then we have our Masterclass Series, where we invite top artists. Every 2 weeks, we have someone new for different instruments. We have had, here in the picture, you have Yulia Bushkova, who is a professor in the University of North Texas. We have had Andrei Baranov, who was a former winner of the Queen Elizabeth violin competition. We will have a cellist from the Chicago Symphony, a cellist principal of an orchestra in Norway, and we will have Jason Heath, who is the president or the director of the International Bass Society. So very important artists are wanting to come and mentor these students, and this is one of the ways that we connect not only students among each other, but also students from these communities with musicians and institutions from the US. Another thing we are doing is we are forming educational partnerships. We currently have 2, one with the University of Maryland and one with the Orchestra Now. And through this educational partnership, these institutions get to have their students teach our students or these students. Last semester, we had the pedagogy class of the University of Maryland take over one private student from Peru, from Mexico, from Belize, from all these countries. So this is, again, this is another way we are connecting the world through music.
Yeah. So up next, we are going to introduce Vel to you. So she was the bassist I mentioned earlier, where she introduced us to all of the Kenyan musicians. So thanks to Vel, we are able to teach in Kenya. So this is a video that we sent out when we were looking for a double bass for her.
Hi, my name is Velvin Samkul. You can call me Vel. I am a young musician from Kenya in Africa. I play the double bass and I'm very, very in love with classical music. In my town, there's very limited access to musical literacy. This includes musical books. There are no orchestras, and this is a great disadvantage for anyone who is interested in classical music, such as myself. However, against all odds, I decided to learn how to play the double bass, and I managed to teach myself. I have no access to musical schools, so I would only use a book and the internet. And although I am still an amateur, I am proud of my progress so far. My main problem actually, is that there's only one double bass within a 78-mile radius. This means, in fact, that there's only one double bass in my whole town, and my access to it is very limited. In fact, sometimes in a year, I could access it about 4 times. And this is a great challenge for anyone who wants to grow as a musician. I cannot afford an instrument of my own. And for this reason, I have a very special appeal to anyone who sees this message. If you have an extra double bass, or you know someone who has an extra double bass and they don't mind donating it to me, that would truly change my life, because I am in love with the double bass. I'm in love with classical music, and there's so much holding me back. And I wish if only I could have access to one, then I would grow in my music and eventually fulfill my dream of bringing musical literacy to my town and my city at large. So I'm free for anyone who would like to talk to me and know more about my musical story. And thank you so much for seeing this message. I hope that someone is going to be touched and help me. Thank you. Otherwise, have a great day.
Okay, so that was Vel. Oops.
Hi.
Sorry. There we go. Okay, so we did wind up getting Vel a double bass. I just want to check, is Vel here? I don't think she is. So sometimes they have some internet troubles. Vel was going to come here to meet everyone today. It is like 1 something in Kenya right now, so I'm not sure what's happening with their internet, but if she shows up, we'll introduce her to all of you. But we did wind up getting Vel a double bass. So on the screen right now, you'll see these 2 bassists who are from New York, and you will see a very large flight case. So they donated to us when they saw Vel's story a flight case, which is necessary for the traveling of a bass, because as you know, instruments are very fragile. If anything happens to them, they just don't sound the same. They don't work. They need to basically be perfect, and that's the tough thing about traveling with such a large instrument. So basses do have a special flight case, or it's also been called like a flight trunk. So this was donated to us by these 2 bass players from New York, and they also donated strings, they donated music, mutes, dampeners, they donated a bunch of stuff, 2 bows, but they did not have a bass for us. But regardless, we didn't have a bass, but we took everything that they offered, and hoping that we would find a bass. So we wound up having a bass donated to us.
Mm-hmm. So here, this is the Gary Upton bass shop. It's a very well-known store for double basses, and we had to go to. It was in Connecticut. We drove from Connecticut to New York. We took our little dog, if you can see there, too. And they were very, very kind to donate a double bass for Val. And then the next challenge, which is actually the biggest challenge that we had, it wasn't so much to get a double bass, but it was to get it to Kenya. Because we had some people offering us double bass in different places. But we were trying to investigate, to search how much shipping will be for a double bass to Kenya. And FedEx gave us an estimate of like $5,000. DHL also around that much. So it was a challenge. And at some point, we were almost defeated with our mission to get Bell a double bass. So one day, we wrote an email to many nonprofits that work in Kenya, maybe like 20 or 30 nonprofits. And one of them answer is this lady here on the left. Her name is Sharon Rush. She's the director of Kenya Connects. And immediately she answered and said, yes, we can take it to Kenya. It will only be $150 fee for the double bass, and it's gonna get there in February. And actually, her base right now is in the ocean somewhere, going over on a boat. Yes, not on the ocean literally, but it's getting over to Kenya. Thank you to Kenya Connects, to Upton Base, and to this wonderful couple. And this is just an example of how when musicians come together, or organizations, we can make great things happening. And Vel is gonna get her bass at the end of February, and she's actually been joining our classes already. Even when it's 3 a.m. in Kenya, she's been there until the end, and we are very grateful for for this base that we got from
Mhm.
Acton base.
Yeah. So just to check one more time, Val messaged me saying she's coming on. Is she here yet? Val? I think that's a no. Okay, so when she comes on, she will, so we'll start with Valentine instead for our speakers and performers. So Valentine should be here, right?
Let me see. Valentin, are you there yet? ¿Estás ahí, Valentin? Ellie? Did someone call Ellie enter? Not yet, right?
No.
So why don't we go to our, first we're gonna jump on to how to stay connected with us even though while we wait.
Val is here, wait.
Oh, Val is here. Okay, great.
Val?
Stop share. Stop share.
Let me see. Val? She just messaged me.
Oh, there. I see Val.
Where?
So go to gallery. There.
Oh, Valvin.
You are muted, Val. You are muted there.
Hi. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, nice background.
I'm so sorry about being late, but I'm happy to be here.
That's okay. We want to introduce you to our friends from the Texas Jewish Arts Association. They are right now they are in Texas, but some of them I know it are in Israel. So it's a very international call. Belle is from a town called Eldoret, which is about 6 hours from Nairobi, Kenya. And Belle, why don't you just talk to us about your experience with Musicians for the World? We haven't really rehearsed anything, we promise you. But yeah.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. My name is Velvin Samkul, and I come from Kenya. I come from a small town called Eldoret. And in my town, there is very limited access to classical music. We don't have any schools that teach classical music. We don't have any music shops. And I have always been very intrigued by classical music when I was introduced to it in high school. So I took up the double bass, but my only access to the instrument was in high school. So even when I went for breaks, I could not play it anymore. I only could play it when I was in school. So once I finished my high school, it was really hard to come across a double bass, and my music really faced an end, I was really troubled. And that's when I have been struggling to actually get a double bass, and I would even have to travel for 6 hours to Nairobi, which was the closest town, and just to get to practice. Can you imagine? So it has been a very difficult journey for me. And when I came into contact with Musicians for the World, I don't know what to say. Honestly, these guys have changed my life, because now as we speak, I have a double bass on the way. And I really did not think that that is something. Even when I was in contact with them, I didn't think they would actually do it, but they have not given them anything. I don't even understand why they've been so dedicated to helping someone like me. And they made a promise to me, and the promise is actually coming true. They have been with me, they have held my hand, they have also been able to come in contact with other musicians in Kenya and help them as much as they can. So these people, I really don't know what to say for them, but what I can say is that they have made my dreams come true, and they're actually making a lot of other people in Kenya's dreams to come true. Because now they've helped me get into contact with a donor who is actually donating a double bass for free. I know it might not sound like a crazy thing, But for me, that is a dream come true. That is a crazy thing because I would never afford a double bass in a million years, honestly. And we don't even have shops in Kenya. There's a lot of things involved, something like even how to transport it to my town, because it's a small town. The road is not really good. It's very hard to find transport for it, and they've taken care of it. So what I believe is musicians for the world are a group that is true to their word. They actually stand for what they believe, and they will never let a musician go until they're sure that that musician has everything they need to be happy. So I look forward to having more time with them, making other musicians' dreams come true, because there's really a serious problem of musicians in Kenya having access to instruments and other resources. But from what I can see, I believe that that dream is going to come true for many more musicians. So I hope my story inspires anyone out here, because I am actually living proof. I am actually living proof that musicians for the world do what they stand for. Okay, they actually stand for the world. Can you imagine? I'm in Kenya. I swear I never imagined this could be true. So I'm very excited. Sorry if I say it a million times, because everywhere I go I tell them. It's actually an inspiring story for me, because now I have even other musicians in my orchestra who are actually going to give up. But once I tell them, you know what, look at me, can you just listen to my story, and they've actually not given up. So I represent a lot of other musicians who have been inspired and whose life have changed just because of musicians for the world. So I hope that we will get all the help that we need to help all the many other musicians that have the same story as myself. So thank you so much, and I hope my story is helpful. I don't know if you have any question for me.
You
made me cry.
Thank you, Val. Thank
It's true. I mean it. I mean it, because I'm surprised I haven't cried, because I would cry every day for the first few weeks of talking with musicians for the world. It felt like a dream. I never thought that my story would ever catch someone's attention. I don't feel like I deserve any help, but they actually took me seriously, and they actually made that dream come true. So it really means the world to me. I think I've cried too much for the first
Thank
week.
you, Val. Thank you. Maybe you can
But
say
I just want us, I don't want the story to end with me. I want the story to be I want to hear a lot of more success stories for other musicians in Kenya, because I know what they go through, and maybe they are not very brave like I was, because I was very scared reaching out, but they actually did it. So there are other people who are like me, and they actually need help. So I look forward to musicians for the world being able to get all the resources they have, and helping many more musicians that need this help. Thank you.
Thank you, Val. Thank you so much. Well, maybe at the end with the Q&A, would you mind? I don't know if you mind staying maybe another 30 minutes.
I'm going to stay. I'll stay. It's
Okay,
fine.
thank you. Yeah, if anyone will have any questions for you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Val. Kelly, we almost cried, but thank you so much. Now we have one of the best experiences when we started Musicians for the World for us is to discover that there is amazing talent anywhere in the world. You can find like amazingly talented people. Sorry, I'm a little bit touched by Val. And one of these, an example of what I'm saying right now is Valentin. Valentin is not only a violinist, a pianist, but he's also a composer, and he's the best student in his school. Valentin is a part of the ensemble that we told you, Los Violines de San Juan, and he's only 9 years old. We are providing him with violin, piano, and composition classes. We actually also have a theory and composition masterclass going on. And Valentin, he won a competition in Romania, an online piano competition very recently. And we are very happy to work with him, to work with his father too. We're giving his father violin lessons because his father is Suzuki trained, and he has other two sisters that are also starting on violin. So with no more words about Valentin. Hola Valentin, ¿estás ahí? Why don't we hear Valentin perform? He's our performer tonight.
Hola profesora, aquí estoy.
¿Cómo estás? Te presento a nuestros amigos de la Asociación Judía del Arte en Texas. ¿Y por qué no nos dice qué vas a tocar para hoy? What are you playing for us today? ¿Qué vas a tocar para nosotros hoy en piano?
Ahora tocar el escocés en piano.
Ok, very good. Go for it. A ver, te escuchamos. Bravo, Valentin. Muchas gracias. And now we will have Valentin is actually performing in a master class for pianist Robert Auler, who is a professor in New York State University. Y Valentin, ¿tienes tu violín ahí? So I actually would like to ask everybody a favor from our experience. If everybody has their microphone and their video off, the connection works better. I would like to request everybody to turn off your videos and microphones just for the second performance of Valentin.
The connection will be
the connection will be better. Valentin is going to perform a piece that he wrote called Lorito Poli, which is dedicated, inspired on his parrot, and the struggle between his parrot and his mom. That's what the piece is about. We are working with Valentin, and also our composition teacher is working with him on this piece. This is probably the premiere performance of El Lorito Poli. A ver, Valentin, te escuchamos. Bravo, Valentin. Thank
Muchas
you, thank
gracias.
you. I know there is a way to clap on Zoom. Everybody can give their claps. Gracias, Valentín. Si te puedes quedar un ratito por si tienen preguntas. Valentín is going to stay just in case anyone has any questions. We apologize for the internet, but that's a very common situation for us. Some places don't have the internet connection that we have. And for that reason, actually, when we have master classes with famous artists, what we do is we play a video of their performance, and then the teacher works with them just to avoid the internet situation. But if you would like to see videos of Valentin performing, you can find him on YouTube. If you just type Valentin.
Going to type it in the chat.
Valentin Hilares, either piano or violin, you will find some of his performances. He hasn't recorded his composition yet. This is a premiere, but we will make a video out of it soon for everybody to see and meet Valentin. Now we just wanted to talk about with different ways you can be connected. This project, we don't want it to be just musicians for the world and everybody else. We would love for anybody to participate in any way you can. The first way you can participate is by following us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We have a few videos of students performing together. We have a website, musiciansfortheworld.org. And yeah, we post very often about the students, about what we are doing. Other ways that you can support us, besides donations, of course, we rely on the generosity of the general public. We don't work with any corporation or government agency. Is by spreading the word that has gotten us where we are, just by spreading the word. That's how Sarah found us on Instagram, and also presentations. If you know anybody who would like to learn about us, we're open to do other presentations. And something I wanted to mention too is expertise. If anyone have any expertise on any area for nonprofits that we can benefit, that will help us a lot too. As you can tell, we are freelance musicians. We are obviously not experts on business and organizations. So
or law.
Or law. So anyone who even wants to meet with us for an hour sometime and give us advice on how to operate, that would be amazing. Yeah, so that's the few ways that you can stay in contact and help this us and this movement of musicians for the world. And do you have any words before we go to the Q&A?
Yeah, I think that one of my favorite things about all of this is that we get to all connect through the common language of music. And this is something I think about often. We did not put it into our presentation for time's sake. And we're going to move on to questions in just a moment. But I just wanted to say that, you know, having this common language is something that's very powerful. I've taught lessons through Musicians for the World where we don't speak the same language, yet we're still able to have a private lesson. because we have the common language of music, and art really is just a universal language. And I think having this and knowing this is power, because you can do with it what you wish. You can change the world with it. You can keep it to yourself, or you can share it. You can use it on like your most dark, lonely night, or you can, use it to, connect with people. And especially during these times of COVID, we're all looking for ways to connect, and many of us looking for them very desperately, almost, because these times have not been easy. And I think, things come to people at the perfect time. And I think that this organization, it came to us at the perfect time, and we would have been silly not to do something with it. So it's really been a great honor to use this common language that we've learned our whole lives. It's a privilege and an honor to be able to do what we do. And I just wanted to say that we're really honored to be able to share all of this with you and to do what we do. Yeah, and now we can open up for questions and answers between us and Vel and Valentine.
Yeah, and y'all are right that it's kind of funny that what you were saying, Kelly, is that we actually probably would not all be here doing this if we weren't all online right now. We wouldn't be reaching out, because I know, like, when I met you at Miami Music Festival, like, I didn't think I'd ever meet you again, or work, because you're on the East Coast and I'm here, so, but, so it's kind of interesting how certain things like all the shutting down and everything throughout the world has kind of created something new. But
yeah.
Yes. So actually, maybe and everyone can turn their video if you would like. We are past the performance part.
Yeah, we can all have our
and anyone, we usually do this in our master classes. Feel free to ask a question on the chat, because if you or anything,
or you could just speak.
Okay. I would like to say thank you. What the two of you are doing is absolutely phenomenal. Thank you for what you're doing. I have a number of questions. Where do you get your money? How do you do what you do? Can you make a video of Vel when she gets her bass? I would love to hear that. Valentine is, I can't get over the fact that you are 9. That's that's amazing. Bravo. And seriously, how do you get the money to do what you're doing?
So far, honestly, we haven't. I mean, we have some funds, but me and Jesus, all of our work has been voluntary. And we have done a few fundraisers. We actually just sent our first payments out to our teachers. But Jesus and I have just been, taking one for the team, and just kind of doing most of the work that we're doing for nothing. We've had one fundraiser through a platform called Global Giving a while back. So we raised our first $5,000. And then when we first opened our fundraising page, we made about $1,000. So this year in total, we've made about $6,000. All of it has gone to our teachers. Some of it has gone to, making a website that costs money, having a Zoom account that is longer than 45 minutes per meeting, that costs money. Even becoming incorporated, that was hundreds of dollars to become incorporated. So basically what we've been doing is just, kind of just asking everyone, like, chip in, even if you have $5 or something, everything adds up. But we do constantly have, a donation link on our website, on our Instagram, on our Facebook. It's out there. But we've only really done 2 fundraisers so far in these past 8 months. And we hope to do more. It's hard to fundraise when you can't hold events.
An important detail too I wanted to mention is that we are about 12 teachers from different instruments. and all of them, when they reach out to us, they want to give their time. They want to participate in this mission, and most of them are involved from 1 to 3 hours a week. However, we know that most of the teachers that are working with us are also freelance musicians and are also in our situation. So we've been trying to give a symbolic pay for them with the funding that we had. But one of our goals long term will be to not only help the students from all these countries, but help freelance musicians here in the States, providing opportunities not only to mentor and to change the life of students, but also to make some kind of financial possibility out of this.
Yeah, because a lot of the time when you're helping people, you don't profit much off it, and that would be, I mean, the goal is to, you know, have it so that it could be profitable to do good things, you know. And then Val, do you have a question?
Yes, not a question, but maybe I just want to point this out to everyone else. I don't know how the maps in US you look like, but I just want you to tell them, how long did you guys travel to make sure that the base got to me? Because that was an amazing thing. Just tell them how long. I don't know how I'll ever thank you guys, but these people, they really traveled in the middle of the pandemic. They had to go on a road trip, and I know that costs money.
Yeah.
To make sure that they have taken the base to the person who is going to bring it to Kenya. So
Yeah.
just, I don't know how long that was, but I know it was a long distance, just to point it out.
Yeah, so the first day we went to Upton Base, and
Connecticut,
which was Connecticut, and we left from my parents, which was on Long Island. So it was like about 4 hours there and then back. And then we came back and slept in Queens for the night. And then the next morning we got up and we drove to Maryland, which was also about like 4.5 hours there and then 4.5 hours back. So this was like the longest I've ever driven in my life, actually. So I got some good driving practice in. And the first day, it was like torrential downpour storm. It was like no visibility on the road. I was driving with like my hands like this with this like giant bass next to me. But it was actually kind of fun.
yes.
It was like a little road trip for us. Yeah. Does anyone else have any questions?
Is Jane? I see Jen.
Oh yeah, you have to unmute. Can anyone unmute Jan?
I've got it. I got it.
Okay.
I got it. I just wanted to say, in Texas, we drive 4 hours for really good barbecue. So it just made, or a really good hamburger. So
not here.
Driving, yeah. And we're not out of the state. We're still in Texas at the end.
Oh my God.
So, yeah. What I want us to stay connected and keep track of what Valentin and what Vel does, especially when you get your bass. I want to know, I want to hear you.
Yeah.
I'll mute now.
Yes. Actually, I used to play in San Angelo Symphony, and I used to drive 4 hours. Then the next weekend, I did Shreveport Symphony. It was 3 hours. You probably, Sarah, you used to do these gigs with me, I think, at some point.
Yeah, we both did I'm still doing San Angelo.
San Angelo, yes. And yes, we are also excited to see Belle play and take lessons and progress as a musician. We're very, very looking forward because she attends all our lessons, but unfortunately she cannot play right now. So yeah, I was wondering if we answer all your questions. I think you had more questions. I think someone else had more questions. I don't know if we answered all of them.
Let's see. Okay. I don't know. No one else has any other questions?
This has been amazing. Vel, how do you practice when you attend the master classes? What do you do?
Oh, well, okay.
Okay. So right now, I don't have a double bass, and I'm actually used to it because there were times that I would only access the bass 4 times in a year, you know? So I'm used to that. So what I do, I just make notes. I just like write down a lot of things, watch a lot of videos, just pay attention, because I know once I get the bass, then I can put them into action. But for now, I really don't have a double bass to use. And that has been my biggest problem. And I was very frustrated. How can I call myself a musician when I can't play? And I did not have any music teacher or anything. So everything I did, I taught myself. And people in my town were so confused, like, what is that, you know? So at the moment, I really can't play anything. I just watch, but I make sure to attend the classes and note them down. I have a whole notebook full of things. So I'm just waiting to hold my bass, and then I can put all of that into practice. Yeah.
Good for you. Fantastic. And
Thank you.
what is Valentine going to do? You said he has composed a piece. You're muted. Jesus, you muted.
Yes, actually, the piece he just composed on violin, that's the one he composed. Unfortunately, the connection wasn't good, but we're gonna make a recording, we promise, and post it on our social media. We're still working on it with him in our private lessons, and yeah, we're crafting it, his piece. But Valentin, he also wants to compose on piano eventually, and participating in all of our activities.
Fantastic.
When it comes out on social media, I'll make sure you guys hear it. I'll send it out via email or something.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I just you asked how people can donate, and I accidentally sent it specifically to Sue. So sorry, Sue. But I just answered to everyone in the chat. Also, here's our website in case you ever want to browse. A lot of the information that we gave today is on the website, but if you ever want to share it with anyone. Oh, I see Roxana, you have a question?
Uh-huh. Oh,
Larissa!
We actually have
this
a
is
student.
one of our students.
Hi. I have a question for Vela. So how did you get interested on playing the double bass? It's like kind of interesting knowing you got interested on that instrument, but you don't play that. So I'm like kind of I don't know, asking myself questions. So
yeah. So when I was in high school, we had music lessons. We were studying music, but you need to play an instrument. But the only things we had in my school were brass instruments and the flute and maybe singing. And I'm a terrible singer. So it was but during my second last year in high school, we actually had a group of students from University of Georgia. They donated a string orchestra to my school. So they donated about 20 violins, 3 cellos, and 1 double bass. That was my first time to set eyes on a double bass. and I was so terrified. I remember I did not pick the double bass. I picked a viola to study it because I always liked the violin. That's the only thing I knew, and I was so excited to see one and to hold one. So I had picked the viola, and there was a different girl in my class who had picked the double bass. And those guys, they visited us with the donation and stayed with us for a week to teach us how to tune and how to go about, because we had no information about it. So for the first 3 days, there was a different girl playing it, but I would always stare at her in fascination. I had never seen that instrument my whole life. And after 3 days, she quit. She said it's too hard and she quit. She left it. So for another 2 days, no one was playing the bass. They said, who wants to play it? And I was really scared because I'm actually really tiny. If you get to meet me, I'm so tiny. I'm 5'2" and very skinny. So I was, because the girl, she was really tall and she quit. So I was like, I can't do it. If a big girl can quit, then I can't do it. But I was so fascinated. So I felt it calling me. I remember, I don't know how to explain this feeling, but I was so intrigued by it. And one day on the next day, I just stood up and I went and picked it up and I said, I'll do it. I'll never forget that moment. I don't know if it sounds silly, but that moment is in my head. And I remember the first scale, I was taught how to play the D scale. And I remember crying because when we played together, it felt so beautiful. And it was just one double bass. I had never heard such music. It's nothing that I could even explain, And there's just something about the notes in the bass that made me know that this is it. This is my instrument. This is what it describes me. I don't know how to explain it. I just knew this is what I wanted to play. But after a week, those guys left us and they only left us with a book. I had a book called Essential Elements, book 1 and book 2. That's the only, even my music teacher did not know how to play any string instrument. So we stayed, they left us after a week, and I had myself to learn how to play the double bass, and it was my first time to see it. So it was a struggle. I remember I used to cry. I remember people used to walk by, people in my school, and I sounded really bad. I learned to tune after a month or two. So I would sound really bad and people would laugh at me and they say, look at this one. She went for foreign things and she can't even play it. I used to cry so bad for a long time, but I never gave up on it. And I tried my best. And at the end of my high school, we have the national orchestra goes around schools to audition people for the orchestra. So I knew I was a terrible player and I've never had any training, but I just went for the auditions because I knew after high school, I cannot access an instrument, so my music will die. So I remember I went to the audition and I told them, I don't have a teacher. I only practice during school. When we go for holidays, I don't practice, but this is what I can do. And I love the double bass. Give me a chance to play in your orchestra. And I auditioned and they accepted me after high school. So this is how I got to, because the orchestra is in Nairobi. So I still have to travel 6 hours to go and practice. And the orchestra doesn't have a double bass of their own. So the only time I could play the double bass was before the concert. It's crazy. Because I have to travel for 6 hours, and in Kenya, it's very expensive to travel using public transport for 6 hours. I would travel and get there, and I see the pieces for the first time the night before the concert, and I would stay up the whole night practicing while everyone else have their instruments and they've been practicing the whole time. I would hold it for the first time. I stay up the whole night before the concert, make sure I get my part, then play for the concert and come back home. And that's the only chance I have to hold the double bass. And that's how my story has been. I only get it when I borrow from schools in Nairobi. When my orchestra borrows it for someone, I say, can I come and practice for, let's say, an hour, and I travel that long to go and practice and go back. So it was just a very hard journey for me. And before I got into contact with Musicians for the World, I was about to give up. I said, you know what, it doesn't make sense. I'm not getting enough access to it. Let me just try one last thing. If it doesn't work, then I'll give up on my music. And that last thing is what has changed my life. So that's my story.
Thank you, Belle. Thank you so much. Again, very touching.
Larissa, who just asked the question, is actually surprised us. She's actually my violin student.
Mhm. And Valentin, he always has a question in all our master classes, and surprisingly, he has a question tonight or today. Valentin, ¿cuál es tu pregunta? I will translate, of course. Dinos tu pregunta, Valentin.
En realidad quería agradecer, profesor.
Gracias. He just wanted to thank you, us, all of us. Gracias, Valentín. Gracias. Muy bonito
Thank
tocar.
you. Gracias.
Quiero agradecer a todos porque ayudan a Music for the World. Y ayudando a Music for the World puede ayudar a todos los músicos del mundo. Muchas gracias, profesor Fabricio. Muchas gracias, profesor Jesús Sáenz. Muchas gracias, profesora Elisa, porque me respetan y son muy pacientes conmigo. Lo disfruto mucho. Muchas gracias.
Gracias, Valentín. Gracias. He's just thanking every one of his teachers. Elisa, who is the piano teacher, Fabricio, and I work with Valentin privately. He's thanking all of us for supporting and being there for musicians for the world, because it's helping him and his musical studies. Oh, Sarah has a... Thank you, Valentin. Gracias.
Gracias, Valentin.
Sarah has another question.
De nada.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question for Valentin. Who is your favorite composer?
Valentín, te está preguntando Sara, ¿quién es tu compositor favorito?
Beethoven es mi compositor favorito.
Beethoven.
Good choice. Great. And also, Valentin, do you do most of your practice at the school, or are you able to practice at home?
Está preguntando si es que puedes practicar en tu casa o si tienes que ir hasta la escuela a practicar.
Estoy practicando en casa.
He's practicing at his home. And actually, this ensemble where Valentin plays, they've been moving to different places because first they were helped by the local government. They gave them a space, but then they got another governor who didn't want to help, so they moved into a high school, and they've been moving a lot. And right now during the pandemic, of course, they are not meeting, so everybody's at home. But I remember there have been situations where some of the kids, of course, they are all in different financial situation, but there is students who have to walk for an hour to get to rehearsal. There is some situations like that with this ensemble. Yes, but they are doing a wonderful job. They are improving, all of them, a lot. And yeah, actually, so if I think it would be a good idea to invite you all to our one of our masterclass series. I think this is an experiment we were trying to do for the first time. Of course, we'll have the students sign up for the class, but like 2 days before the masterclass, open it for the general public. Our next masterclass is with Kyle Orth. He's actually a pianist from Fort Worth, Texas, and he's Jewish. and he's unbelievable pianist. He went to New England Conservatory. He's a soloist. He's entering the Queen Elizabeth competition. That will be next Sunday at noon.
Our time, so
Yeah,
11.
so 11 Texas time. We will send you more information about that. We'll have a student from Suriname, from Trinidad and Tobago, from Peru, and from Belize performing for this masterclass. And you will meet students from all over the world connecting.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you all so much. And thank you, Valentine. Muchas gracias. And Vel, thank you for staying up in the middle of the night for us. I really appreciate that. And I would have understood if you needed to, you know, kind of zoom out of the Zoom. You know, that's totally fine. But thank you for staying. We really appreciate it.
Sarah, do you want to ask one more time for people to let you know how they found this program? We've lost a number of people who have been on, but go ahead and ask that again, please.
Yeah, I know some people in other time zones had to leave, but yes, if everyone that's here, it would be a big help to me if you could either message me in the comments, if you can email me, if you have my email, I'll actually put my email in the chat. That way, and tell me how you heard about this event. Like you can just write Facebook, Instagram, an email, Art and Seek. I think we were in an online magazine too, the 50 plus. I don't know where else we had marketed, but that would just be a big help to know where everyone heard about this. Let's see, I'm typing my email in here.
Yeah.
Can't talk and type at the same time, sorry. Okay, so yeah, that would be a really big help to us just to know, because we are starting, or we have to start doing online events because we don't have a choice, you know. And honestly, it's actually been really good because I feel like we are actually being able to connect more in ways that we wouldn't have been able to. And speaking of that, I did want to go ahead and mention the other online events that we have coming up, which is conversation with author Chris Miller. He's discussing his book, The Spiritual Artist, on February 21st. And then we also have a presentation by Aurora Dallas on their latest project, and that is
March 14th.
Thank you. And then we also have the Fort Worth Contemporary Art Gallery tour on April 11th, but you can go to our webpage on the event page, and it will give you more information on these events that are coming out. And if you're on our email list, then you will receive emails about them. But if not, then you can also go to our Facebook and our Instagram and follow us there. We will post information on those as well.
Is that the TJAA Facebook? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, the website will be much more updated since we don't really have any social media person. So it's kind of, I mean, it's kind of me, but I'm not very reliable. So.
You're very reliable. That's not true at all.
Okay.
Kelly and Jesus, I'm actually recording this on Zoom. We're going to put this recording on the TJAA website. Would you like a recording for your website also?
yes.
Oh, sure. That would be amazing.
That would be amazing. Yes.
We'll send you a link.
Awesome.
Yes.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. This has really been a pleasure and a privilege to be with you all today. We always love being able to share what we're doing. So it's exciting.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. And
Thank you all.
We'd love to have you back too in the future.
Yeah, of course.
Have more people and like have you back. And then, yes, and thank you so much for agreeing to do this for us. This has been great.
Thank you.
thank you
We
for
just feel totally that this is going to explode for you. It truly is. It's just like the energy, your energy is fabulous. Your spirit is wonderful. It's just, it's wonderful. I can't even say that enough.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. We invite you to be part of our mission in any way you can be with us. And thank you for listening to us from Texas, which is a place I miss a lot. Cool.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
This has
Dawn.
been wonderful.
Gracias, Valentin. Thank you, Belle.
Thank you, Val. Gracias,
Yeah,
Val.
thank you both.
Thank you. Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.